Good evening, all. This is DFG, the man with the golden voice, the lady's choice, and as smooth as a Rolls Royce. I'm coming to you live from the 571 where I'm having fun and I'm getting things done. Today's a show I just came up with on the last minute, but I'm going to still get into it. I'm going to be talking about. This is DFG. I said I'm going to be talking about ID, digital IDs, digital footprint, and how the government is weaponizing it over this time. If you don't know, a lot of things from way back in the day, identification has been ways for the government to keep tabs on you. That's not being that's not being a conspiracy theory, but it is what it is. You got to have some form of ID, a valid ID, so in case law enforcement pulls up to you, they know who you are. We have a lot of it back in the days was paper picture on a piece of paper that was stamped good by the government. But these days we're talking more of digital IDs where every all your information is digitalized, and they have digital passports, they have digital licenses, they have digital ID cards so that they can show you, and they also can biometrically identify you by your thumbprints or your fingerprints, by your face, and by your eye. Some people don't like that because what it does, it gives you an idea. It get you. People think it gives the government an idea and be able to track you with what they say they're gonna do, and you know with that comes a lot of stuff that we keep going, and it's not, you can't do what you did even 20 years ago because there's cameras everywhere. There are what's called RFID, which is basically infrared signals that your card or your license gives off that can be picked up by somebody who can with a RFID reader. We also have we also have a lot of different things. So you can't, you can get into your house with a code. You can unlock the door from your phone. You can do a lot of things. And what you don't realize is that the government, I don't know if y'all realize or not, but the government covers a lot of that stuff. But before I go on with my monologue, I want to introduce my one of my co-hosts. She's my favorite girl, the sister with the same Mr. and Mrs. Chocolate Pearl. What's going on, Chocolate Pearl?
Hey, 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 y'all. Can y'all hear me good?
Yes, we heard you. You
Okay,
heard.
cool. I heard. Hey, everybody, it's Chocolate Pearl, my brother's favorite girl. Hopefully, everybody else is. I'm calling you from Duval. I'm sorry for coming in late, but I was having internet connections issues. So now we're
Feed your
back on track.
squirrels.
Look, I realized once we moved into this house, the internet sucks over here. So.
Like I said, feed your squirrels, and you might get better internet.
But go ahead. What are you talking about today?
Hey, you live in Florida. You live in Florida, home of the Gators, in Duval, Jacksonville, the place where they shoot to kill.
What's
But
on the topic
it's all
tonight?
good. Well, tonight's topic, I just came up with it, is digital IDs and how the government, how the government are using it. I'm also going to talk about cybersecurity and give you guys a few pointers on how not to get hacked, cracked, or jacked.
Oh,
and
all
your
right.
stuff be all over the interwebs. So I'm gonna talk to you about digital IDs first. Digital IDs offer powerful benefits, but they also come with serious risks. Here's a clear breakdown of the pros and cons to help you evaluate their impact. The first pros, I'm gonna talk about the pros. Convenience and speed. Access services like banking, healthcare, and travel with a single log in or biometric scan. No need to carry physical documents. I talked about that in my opening. Improve access to services helps underserved populations across access government benefits, education, and financial services, especially in remote or rural areas. Enhance security when done right. Strong encryption and biometric can reduce fraud compared to traditional IDs if the systems are well designed and maintained. So that's an important thing. Streamline verification. Businesses and governments can verify identities instantly, reducing paperwork and wait times. Digital inclusion and innovation enables new services like e-voting, digital wallets, personalized healthcare, fostering innovation and inclusion. Well, with the good, you can't talk about the good with the bad. The cons of digital identity, privacy risks. Centralized databases can expose sensitive data to surveillance, profiling, or misuse, especially if consent is weak or unclear. I'll talk about that a little later. Cybersecurity threats. Digital IDs are prime targets for hackers. A breach could compromise millions of identities at once. Exclusions and inequality. People without smartphones, internet access, or digital literacy may be locked out of essential services. Government overreach. I'll talk about that too. Without strong legal safeguards, digital IDs can become tools for mass surveillance or political control. Loss of autonomy. Users often have little control about how their data is shared, stored, or monetized across platforms. If you're considering implementing or using a digital ID system, it's crucial to ask who controls the data, what is consent managed, how's consent managed, and what happens if the system fails. Well, I'm gonna ask each of my people on the board out. First of all, I'd like to shout out to the DFG family. We got Big Al, we got Miss Kim, we got Miss Sum Sum, and we got Miss Nikki on YouTube Live. Also hollering at my people on TikTok Live, Instagram Live, and Facebook Live. If you want to join if you want to join the contents, go to my link tree in my bio, and you can come on in Zoom. Only thing I ask is that you be respectful and your opinions are your own and not of the station. I'm gonna start off with Big Dabs. What's going on, Dabs?
Good man, how you doing?
Hey, it's another day of the unemployed. Um, question. I'm gonna ask you a couple of questions.
All
One
right.
question is how are you in favor or do you oppose digital IDs in the way I described the pros and cons?
I guess I would be in favor.
And why would you be in favor of those? What benefits you think you can get out of that?
Like you said, it's quicker, it's easy access. Actually, I have mine on digital wallet. Um, and I actually use that as well. So I think it's just faster and easier.
Okay, stay there. I'm gonna go to Miss Kim. Miss
Okay.
Kim, um, do you think is it is are you in favor or against digital IDs and why?
I'm in favor of it. Like DJ Dab said, it's easier, quicker, but also it can be like easier for somebody, to me, somebody to get a hold of your information.
Yeah, that's a negative. Same question to you, Big Al.
I mean, there are a lot of benefits. I'm looking at my real ID right now. It's got all of my medical information. There are two different barcodes on here that I'm sure they're going to use for something. There are just a lot of things on this real ID that it's going to make things quicker and faster in case of a medical emergency. However, you got to be very vigilant because it's going to make it very easy for somebody using cyber or AI to identity steal and to do things that can come back and haunt you. So it's like six in one hand, half a dozen in another for me.
Okay, okay. And Miss Sum Sum?
Hey guys. So basically I am so far with the panel here and I think that it's quicker, it's faster. However, one thing I am going to add to that is that if you decide to go that route, that you might want to invest in those wallets that kind of safeguard your information so that hackers can't walk past you with special machines and kind of scan your information and kind of rob you without you even knowing.
Yes, that's called, they call it a RID skimmer or RFID reader. Yes, those they are very much a part of some of the negative things that goes on with your identity as well as your pockets. Now, personally, I like digital IDs because in the past 10 years I've lost my wallet twice and I didn't lose my phone. To didn't lose my phone, so I was able to get through, and I was traveling, so I was able to get through the airport. And the hardest part was using my digital wallet to pay for parking when I got to the airport. Um, the pot the negative thing about it, and I'll talk about those. I'll talk about those later. Is that like you said? Most of your cards have the R. If you have the three little bars, the Wi-Fi bars on your look at all your IDs and your cards. They have three little. That means it can be. It has a short range, about 8 to 10 feet, that is sending out a signal for your card, and that's what Miss Sumsum was talking about with people coming to skim your information. Now they'll get basic information, but they still, in order for them to truly get into your stuff, they basically have to have your personal information and know what you're about. So likelihood, yeah, they got your information, but they do things, and I know Big Al probably was tired for the last 25 years of his career doing the Department of Defense Information Awareness Challenge, where we talked about that ad nauseum. That's for all the people in the Department of Defense. We have to have a training once a year to say that we understand keeping your IDs and your stuff secured. For example, one thing that I see, especially with the government, is people on the train, on the metro, or out in public, and they have their IDs on a lanyard, and it has their information hanging out right there where you can see it. You would, if you were smart, you want to wear it where nobody can see it, because once it identifies you as a government worker. Two, it can that information can be taken. Now it'll be a little harder for them to break the encryption, but it's not impossible. So in those ways, in those things, you have to be careful. And this is, we don't look at it as, well, they're going to take my stuff. I'm kind of, since I work in cybersecurity, or I work with cybersecurity professionals, I'm kind of nihilistic about it. I figured they got all my information, and did they steal it? Do you think anybody stole my information in the last 15, 20 years? Anybody? Raise a hand if you think so, or type of one.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. How did they get my information?
internet websites. Are you off of mute? You're not. Can't hear you.
Oh yeah, internet banking. A
Okay,
lot of stuff coming through banking these lately.
right. So the thing is that hackers don't have actually have to hack into your system
Right.
to
Right.
get your information.
They
We
hacking into business systems because we're putting it in the internet.
and we do it voluntarily
Yes.
because in order to have digital ID, you have to put your personal information on a, and I'm doing air quotes, secure website, or even with paper. A lot of times people don't take their financial and identity security seriously enough to to be that. So that's why I said I don't worry about getting hacked, because the government has all my stuff anyway. Because one, I work for the government. Two, I have a cell phone or two or three. I've got cards, and there's so much facial recognition software out there that my stuff is, they know where I am and what I'm doing, and that's why I don't understand why they can't solve more situations. But saying that, I'm gonna ask
They want to find.
everybody.
They'll find what they want to find.
Yeah, exactly. Just like when last month when or early this month when Charlie Kirk got
Shot.
unalived. um, now, there's a racial component to it, but I'm not going to go too deep into it. It was a white person in a white state in a white town that shot another white guy. Do you know how fast they got the person identified? And there was cameras showing the person doing everything except shoot them, except fire the weapon.
Yeah, I believe all that.
So that should tell you they do have the resources to do that. And no matter what, even if you pay stuff in cash, some stores these days don't take cash anymore because it's hard to rob somebody if you ain't got no money. If they ain't got no money, but it's always some people.
Where there's a will, there's a way.
Oh yeah, I agree. But like I said, it's and I'll talk about that a little later. But what I am going to say is with digital IDs, I think the good outweighs the bad. However, you have to be able to understand how to protect yourself from those who are not does not have your best interest in mind. So, oh, I forgot Miss Dream. What's going on, Miss Dream?
Big Al has his hand up.
Oh, go ahead, Big Al.
Yeah, unlike you, I've been in cyber for about the last 30 years, and I don't worry about it because I have a credit monitoring system. I use Equifax. And with Equifax, they lock down everything, your social security number, all your credit cards, your date of birth, all that critical information. And I was so impressed that even when I had to do my background information checks with the government that we had to do every 5 years, the government couldn't even get access unless I unlocked my account. When I bought my last car, again, they couldn't do a credit check because my credit was locked. I went into the dealership, unlocked it. They were able to do their due. I locked it back. So I highly recommend some type of credit monitoring service for anybody who's really concerned about, cyber thieves and people, getting your identity and opening up accounts and doing things.
That's
Well, I don't
that's
have no money for them to open up an account on mine, but my and Dad's bank accounts has been compromised to where I do love Navy Federal. I'm giving them props. Hopefully, they give you a commercial on that. But I love Navy Federal because even the smallest amounts that doesn't seem right, and I guess not on my algorithm, that they will shut me down. They literally call or send a text message or email to me saying that did you purchase something from this place for this amount of money when they realize it's something. So I love the fact that there is a monitoring system. I love that, and even though it takes me out of whack because now I got to reset things back up, but at least they're watching, and that's what matters to me.
Yes, definitely,
But they trying hard.
definitely.
I've been hacked a total of 3 times this year alone.
Well, later on, I'll talk about how to reduce those chances.
Thank you.
Um, Miss Dreen, are you there? I guess she. I guess she might be. She might be sleeping. Well, anyway, I'm going to cover a couple of things, and like I said, I'm going to ask you guys some questions on. Has anybody beside not you, Big Al, everybody else, has anybody been um, a has anybody been a victim or people try to fish? If you don't know what phishing means, it means somebody sending you an email or on your give you a text message say click this link or open this email and it gives malware, usually a keystroke counter that
All the time, but I don't open them up though.
and you gotta and a lot of times they're getting more sophisticated and the reason why I'm bringing this up because it does go on into digital IDs. Um, if you open a sometimes even if you open an email and you don't recognize the sender, that's enough to get to for them to get on your page. You got to tell people who are not computer savvy or not like older people in their late 60s and 70s. Go on, Miss Kim.
No, I was just gonna say, it's been a couple of times that because I'm originally from Georgia, a couple of times I've gotten emails, even text message that said a Georgia. I went through a Georgia, what is it, Easy Pass? Well, we don't have those where I come from. So, and I need to pay the ticket. And I haven't even been back home since what, April? Yeah.
So that does happen, and that's part of phishing. So get you to give you up your information so then they can get in. Another one, and this when you're at work, is called privilege elevation. Privilege elevation is they get you to reveal your password, or what they'll do is they'll ask you questions that's designed to get information out you for so they can answer the questions. They can spoof an email. You'll get an email from my email. My email for this channel is DLITE the number 7 at gmail.com. However, what they'll do is instead of that, they'll put an exclamation point where the L is, and sometimes you don't even know, or you can do a capital I instead of a
They
L.
teach you that in the when you take the cyberspace or cyber thing at work, and they tell you about that.
Yes. If you don't know the person, if you know the person and it looks suspicious, call them and say, "Did you send me an email?" But overall, a lot of those things can happen. I used to ask questions when I worked in recruiting for cyber at the cyber school, and I would go recruit for Army officers. Though I would ask some of those questions in the interview, I say okay, and I'll ask this group, show of hands, have you clicked on a link from someone that you knew? Show of hands, or one if you do, two if you don't. If you didn't, you can put a thumbs up, or if you clicked on a link that a friend sent you. Okay, I got one person, two, So Miss Nikki says she puts it. She sends them straight to the juke folder. Oh, my bad, junk folder. So okay, now has anybody heard of people spoofing phone numbers? Not you, Big Al. This is like preaching to the choir to you. But
Oh
Chocolate Pearl,
yeah.
have you ever saw? Okay, go ahead, Dabs.
No, I was just saying, yeah, I heard, I have.
Okay, now you know somebody can send a message that comes up with the number of a person you do know and have a link. What are the likelihood? What are the chances are you to click on that?
Well, I've had a few of them, and then I don't. And it's even happened to me on Facebook as well, especially for somebody I ain't seen in a while.
Mm-hmm.
You send them a message, I'll message them on another messaging, and then find out, hey, did you send me this message? I've done that. Somebody said, yeah, I sent you that message. I said, I need to check. I don't click on nothing, especially if it's a link that comes from somebody. I'll check with them first before I click on any link.
Correct.
Exactly.
Me too. I'm the same way. Now it's
Ex-
gonna happen to me a couple of times where I got emails or text messages from dead people.
Yeah,
And I know
that
that they, even though I didn't take them out of my phone, I know that they dead. And I got, messages from them. Oh, actually, I'm glad you brought that up because it was something funny. Especially on Facebook. Somebody sent me a message from Aunt Rosie and was trying to act like they were Aunt Rosie, asking me for money. And that is the craziest thing because even though she's retired, she still make more money than I do. So I know she is not asking me for no money. So I knew that was, somebody spoofing. And
yeah.
so I went along with it, but on the side, I contacted her on the side and said, somebody's acting like you and you supposed to be asking me for money. She said, well, I need money from you for blah, 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 blah. And so we actually played along. And so she said, well, tell them this and tell them that. And I told them this and told them that to the point where I said, well, they asked me to send money. I said, well, I said it. Did you get it? They said, well, send the confirmation. And so I said, okay, I'm sending it. Did you get it? They said, no, I didn't. I said, let me send it again. And I took a picture of me holding up my middle finger and I
Yeah,
sent it to them and then they blocked me.
yeah, that's about right. That's the proper way to, that's one of the proper ways to do with it. But even with even though using biometrics and what we call 2FA, two factor authentication, if you're not careful with your information and they can hack that because if if you put it online, it's digitized, and anything digitized can be cloned or copied and used nefariously. So just keep that in mind when you're giving out the information, and don't if you didn't call them, like financial institutions, don't they usually don't call. They'll email or send you a hard copy, and just know that no Nigerian prince or Ghanaian prince or anybody on the diaspora is going to just give you money or want to marry you or stuck at I'm an American, I'm stuck in Lagos and need money for a trip home. Stuff like
They
that.
still do those?
Yes, they do. Yes, they do. They still do it. People do. Crooks do what works until it doesn't work. Until it doesn't work anymore. Another one is going back to what Chocolate Pearl was saying about Facebook and friends. What I would do if somebody hit me up and they say and there's this person and I just say, how do we know each other? And one time, one of my fraternity brothers did that. I did that to my fraternity brother, and he answered the right question and said, "Okay, I'm just making sure. How do we know each other?" And then, because if they're just cloning it and they're hitting you because they know you, they know the name, they ought to tell you how they know you and from where. Or you can ask, like from our old neighborhood, I would ask somebody, what block did I live on, or what was my address. If you're from the neighborhood where I grew up, you know you know how to answer. So it's not, so I know things like that. You have to
That's like
understand. Go ahead.
I was gonna say that's like there was someone a couple of years ago that I grew up with, but I hadn't seen him since I had moved from New York. And I've been gone from New York for almost 30 years, and by the time they contacted me, it's been about that long. And they had contacted me on Facebook, and I didn't like recognize their face. So I had to ask them, "How do you know me? Where you know me from?" And they broke it down. They said, "I'm the one that pierced your ears, because my ears holes had closed up, and they pierced it with the needle and all that other stuff." And I was like, only person that did that was Audrey Watson, and sure enough, Audrey Watts, excuse me, and sure enough, it was her, and her and my friend Lisa Harris from Ravenswood. They had we wound up getting back together, but like you're right, I couldn't just say I knew you and I didn't, but they had to tell me exactly how they knew me. So yeah, that's a good idea.
Crazy thing, crazy story. Lisa Harris's brother was in my class at 111, brother Raymond,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
we
uh-huh.
and I don't know if you remember, he and I used to fight like cats and dogs. He ain't
All the
like me.
time. Yes.
He ain't like
I,
me when I got suspended over fighting him.
I remember that.
telling you, it's even in New York is a small world. But Big Al, what was have you ever got anybody to call you or ask you to send them money on Facebook, and they use some name that they already knew or a phone number?
Oh yeah, yeah, and I just um, hang up. But one of the other things that I'll share with you on the spoofing of your phone numbers that happened to me, where somebody was sending out vulgar and derogatory text messages to everybody with the same area code. My area code is 404. So there were literally hundreds of messages, text messages going out to everybody, not only people that I knew, but people I didn't know. And they were calling me, making death threats, saying, "You're sending all these vulgar texts to my wife and to my children." And they just spoofed my number, and it was just sending out these random text messages to any phone number that began with 404. I had no idea who they were, but they had my number as the base number that was allegedly sending these text messages out.
Yeah, there are programs that you can send out mass text under a spoof number. I know. I've used them for fraternity business,
Right.
and that's yeah, you're right. That could happen. Another thing is how many put a thumbs up or type of one in the box if you gotten job office on the phone with respect to you could make $700-800 a day. I still get those. If you're From what I understand, if you get those, that means your phone number is on the dark web, and information brokers are trying to get information from you to be able to rob you blind later on. And those are the things that you have to know and understand and learn to know if somebody's sending you something out the blue. Chances are it ain't true. Now that's a rhyme, but anyway, Miss Dreen, are you there? I guess she must be sleeping. Go ahead, Dabs.
Okay, I got a good one for you. So I often get these quite a bit, through my DJ company. So I get these people that send the message like, "Oh," and usually the dates and the times and nothing is right. to where it's supposed to be. So I usually figure it out as soon as I get the message. But I had this one person. I said, I'm gonna play along with him. So they send you a message saying, "Oh, I'm having a wedding for my daughter, and it's gonna be on this certain such date, and I want to hire you as my DJ. How much you charge?" I told him some crazy number, like $6,000. Okay, that's perfect. That's fine. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to send you this check, but I need you to take the check and pay the caterers, because I hired a caterer and I hired all this stuff, but I just want to have everything go through one process. One person takes a check, and I'm gonna send you a check for $30,000, and you pay all these people. I said, "Oh, that's interesting. Oh, how does that work?" He was like, so he's explaining. We went back and forth. I mean, I wish I still had the messages back and forth. So we went back and forth for a good long time. And I said, "Okay, yeah, that sounds good." So, we narrowed it down, got all the stuff down. This cat sent out, well, he said, well, then he messaged me back right before. He said, well, I'm gonna have to send it out in 3 different checks. I was like, okay. He said, well, just make sure you take your part out first and then give everybody else's. So I said, okay, no problem, fine. So 4 or 5 days later, I get this check. I took the check and I burned it. About 3 days later, dude calling me, did you get my check? Where's my money? Did you pay everybody else? I was like, what check? I didn't get no check. I didn't see no check. I just played. I said, I just played the fool like y'all. I said, I don't know nothing. I don't know who you're talking to. Oh man, come on, you got my money. He went on and on. I said, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah, that's another classic scam, the check washing one,
Mm-hmm.
and they wind up getting your money. So I'm gonna do a quick quiz on to see how secure you are with your information. Okay, put a one in the box if you change your passwords to your accounts every 30 days. Put a two if you don't. I don't, but in the next one, the next question is when you change your password, when you if you do have to change your password, do you use a strong password? An example of a strong password is a non-word that has capitals and lowercase. They have symbols. They have symbols, and it's at least 12 to 20 characters every time. How often do you how Big Al? How often do you change your strong passwords?
About once every 3 months, but mine are so long and strong that I have to put in a special code in my phone to go to look at it. It's
Yep.
so long because I could never remember. It's just so random with special characters, lowercase, uppercase, numbers that I can't even remember. So I have to protect it in my phone to go and pull it up every time I go into one of those accounts.
So Miss Kim put uh, only at work because it's required. If usually on government systems, they do require you to change it. Well, and if you don't have a common access card or a CAC, if you do that, they have what's called factor two factor identification or factor authentication. Use your card and put in a code, or you use your password and your thumb, or they'll send a code to your email or to your phone, and then you enter that to get in. Now that's a way to work it, but you'd be surprised of if everybody in the box or put in a number between 0 and 50. 0 and 50, what percentage of people use password 12345? 0%, nope. 40%, nope, too high. Anybody else? 10%, you're pretty close. 20%, well, it's between that. 5%, no. It's 17% of people, of all password users, according to Norton. 17% of people in the U.S. I don't know worldwide, use password 12345 as a as their password, and it's their only password. So how do you think that makes it easier or harder for people to um, hack?
People do that because those people that do that is because they don't remember, they have a very bad memory.
Yes,
And so that's why they use that, but no, you shouldn't use that at all.
and
What
a
about the
way,
birthdays? Some people use their children's birth dates and stuff like that.
or their birthdays,
Or
or
their birthday,
something
yeah.
they can remember. A way, a way. I'm not saying it's the way. Is do like Big Al and have a password and um, multi-factored authenticated, what they call a password vault. So you put the password in there, and you might, if you need to see it again, you can then open it, and then it'll ask you to authenticate, and then you can see that password. That is a way to do that. So you're not putting in simple stuff, because a good counterintelligence agent can get information for you to answer your questions, and you won't even know, because the common things people when they do the, y'all know what I'm talking about, the reset your password. They ask you questions, and a good counterintelligence agent, or even a mediocre one, can get that information from you before you even know it. So it's imperative that you use these things to help tighten your security. Because yeah, Chocolate Pearl, you may not have no money, but having money doesn't mean that you're broke. So they people use
Just
your,
I just thought that they were trying to get it when I didn't have anything to get.
yeah, but even your identity is
Yeah, I know.
even your
Yeah.
identity is valuable to people. Go ahead, Kim.
I don't know if you mentioned it, but with our job, we have to take like trainings on security and passwords and stuff like that, and the
Right.
phishing.
Yeah, that's
And
what I said.
one of them said, "What, Chocolate Pearl?"
That's what I said earlier. That's why I learned that information that he had stated earlier that
Yeah.
we have to take those at work.
One of the one I remember one recently. They said instead of using a password, do a like a phrase. So I have been doing that
And
instead of just using a word with
have you also
less.
used capital letters, small
Yes,
letters,
and
numbers, and
mhm,
symbols?
yeah, by using a phrase. So a lot of my passwords that I used to have just simple password, I've been using phrases that I know I can remember.
Okay, that's a way. Definitely, that's a
Same
way.
thing with me because I deal with banking and money. I have to use several different ways. Like you have your password to get in, and then you have to have a hidden phrase or something that nobody else would know, but you can remember. I have to do that at work. You're right.
Okay, go ahead, DJ Dabs.
Yeah, like I have authenticator. Also, I wondered if those ones like on my authenticator, it'll also allow you to, it'll pick up one for you to make one for you. So some of my passwords are made up through the thing,
Yeah.
and then in order to, and I mean they're usually 20 characters, and they're all kinds of characters. I mean, it don't make no sense at all. So
Yeah, no,
you think those are
definitely, and also, and this ties into what I want to talk about after that with the social media angle to that, and that's people don't take social media seriously, but social media can also allow you to get your identity taken. We've already talked about people sending from spoof accounts and things like that. So with social media and going to how the government is looking on your social media, especially if you're coming from overseas, it's important that we have, y'all think we have rights. We don't have rights. We have privileges. Now, we should have rights, but we don't. We have privileges because, if anything, a right is something you can't take away. A privilege is something that can be given and taken. So, you know, our president seems to be very thin skinned. And if he can find a way to get back at you through your job, they're going to use it through social media. Your identity can be compromised, and somebody can build a social media profile that mimics yours, and you wind up getting caught out there. That's why you have to make sure your digital ID is protected as possible. We talked about different ways, and we talked about how we're going to do that. Now, does anybody think it's fair that talking about the president in a not flattering light can get you fired from both public and private sector? I'll start with Big Al.
Uh, Ask that question again.
Do you think that it's right for people who say unflattering things about the president or his administration can lose their jobs publicly in the public sector or the private sector?
I strongly disagree with that. As you said, Bone Spurs is very thin skinned. They talked about President Obama like he was a dog. They talked about President Biden. They shook it off and kept on kicking. But this guy is very, very narcissistic. He's asking for $230 million from the Department of Justice to repay him for all of his legal fees when he was being investigated, but he was guilty of all the things he was investigated for. So I disagree with that. And even more so, um, directing the Department of Justice to go after everybody that he considers a enemy or a rival who has done or said anything negative about him.
No, yeah, but we kind of, at least the 92 and the 78 understood that was going to happen. It was
Yeah,
just the rest of the folks, thought it was only going to happen to the melanated folks.
right.
Are you there? Oh no, she's gone. Miss Kim, what do you think about what I asked?
I don't think you should be fired or, lose your job. But with this one being so sensitive, I think he would try to, but I don't think you should. I don't think it's right.
Yeah, but it shouldn't be. And I understand. Like I said, we don't have rights. We have privileges. We have the privilege of free speech. And Miss Nikki, no, he is the president. I didn't say he was your president, but he's the president of these United States. So, as much as you personally think he's an odious human being or whatever, he is still the president of the United States, and I will always address him as such. I may not call him his name, but I'll call him by his position. Um, what the thing is that if you're going to criticize those people, you have to do it in a way to where it's not cut and dry. His people can't do that because they don't think critically. because, and especially a lot of melanated folks, we know how we know how people are. We know how people are with how we talk. We could slick talk people without them knowing we slick, and they understand, but to the normal eye, it won't be seen. So I mean, exercise your privileges, but understanding that in this atmosphere, fair and impartial are not, or they're on the deathbed. They're being read its last rites. Um, yeah, that's because you look at 3 weeks ago with all that stuff with Charlie Kirk, and people were getting fired for just saying that, hey, he reaped what he sowed, and that was that. I mean, yeah, there's if you celebrated his unaliving, I don't care if you're Republican, Democrat, black, white, whatever, you're a reprehensible person, because as racist as he was, and that's not conjecture, that's fact. As sexist as he was, that's not conjecture, that's fact. And even though his words were inflammatory, he still should not have been unalived in that manner. Point blank. Saying that, I can see why he was. Not to say that it's not right, but I can see why he was, because you you stoke the fire, you poke the bear, and you can't get mad when the bear eats you. Can I get an amen?
Yeah.
But with that, we have to look at how we are going to go forward with digital IDs, because it's the way of the future. Protect yourself, protect your family, protect your peace, protect your money, protect your image. Because a lot of with us not with us trying when they're trying to goad us into being in the streets so they can do what they need to do. I applaud all my melanated black folks that are staying home and allowing the others to fight for the freedoms that we say we have, but we really don't. We don't have rights. We have privileges. So because like I said, it could be taken away from you. Well, I said the president, Miss Nikki, not our president. The president. He's the president of the United States of America. That's his title. That's what he. That's what it. That's the title he holds. Uh, yeah, it's not a bad thing to be vigilant and to keep aware, knowing that it's going to get a lot worse before it gets better. I'm not saying that to be a gloomy Gus. I'm saying that because that's probably what's going to happen. And how do we how do we look at those things and those people who are not part of us, and they're not fighting, and they're thinking it's only going to affect certain audiences and what's about them? We have to continue to keep our heads up, stay strong, be on our P's and Q's, and understanding that never say during this, especially during this regime, never say it can't get any worse. Because as y'all know, it can and it will. So I'm gonna cut it about right here. Before I go, I would like Chocolate Pearl to put in her 2 cents for this show. And did you
Well,
learn
y'all need to
anything?
be safe, stay safe, keep your money safe, your life safe, and your children safe, and pray that the economy will get better and not worse than what it is. But the future is hope beholds that it will get worse than before it gets better.
Yeah, that's about right. That's about right. And the biggest thing I want y'all to take out of this is protect yourselves because there's nobody else that's going to do it for you.
Nope.
Nobody's going to do it for you. So
Not a
protect yourself,
soul.
protect your loved ones as much as you can, and knowing that we are, we were born for greatness. Continue to be great, and do not let anybody steal your shine. So that's kind of where I'm going with that. And we're going to close it on this. I'm going to say, say what I usually say. Never make love by the garden gate. Though
Love
love
is
is
blind
blind,
and
the
hate is
neighbors
fake.
ain't. Y'all have a good one, and we'll see y'all next week.
Deuces.